I thank the organizers and the chairpersons for your kind introduction. I am just going to tell how the fetal intervention happened in our country. There are two patients. One is an innocent mother, second is a fetus as a patient. The procedure should be safe for the both, and the team should be ready for the both the people, and there should not be any maternal complications. So if you look at the data, 1991, the first fetal intervention was published by the Lindsay Allen and Mike Tynan group. So there lot of excitement in terms of the procedure, and also in the world that there is a major breakthrough in terms of the in utero treatment. But subsequently what happened, there were no interventions happened in the next 1 decade or so. There were only 6 fetal interventions, successful fetal interventions happened over the period of time. This computer is slipping down actually. So if you look at that, in 2002, from North America, Boston group did a first fetal intervention which became a very major news all over the world. Till that time, only one center used to do the fetal interventions. That too 6 cases were done in 10 years from the Guy's Hospital. So why Guy's Hospital did not take afterwards, and Boston actually succeeded in developing the fetal program? We actually reviewed the literature and compared, and the differences are predominantly in Guy's Hospital. There was a lack of continuous team approach and lack of research, in vitro models, training, and they did not have any future directions. Whereas Boston, after first unsuccessful 10 cases, they failed actually 9 cases in the beginning. Then they improved the technique and hardware, and there was constant research, and there are a lot of publications from the Boston Children's Hospital. So this is the world data in 2014, 370 cases, and only 31 patients could achieve the successful biventricular repair. So if you look at this world map of fetal cardiac intervention, you can see predominantly clustered in Boston and then Europe. Now some of the centers in Asia Pacific region, Middle East, Saudi Arabia, they also attempted some of the patients. Why fetal cardiac program is not developed in our country? Because we have a diversified population and culture. We have various social issues. We are all very busy and concentrating on only certain aspects of these, the practice. There is a lack of team approach, lack of training, medical legal issues play a major role. If you look at our social customs and taboos, if there is a heart disease in the fetus, most of the people, they tell that you go for termination rather than continue the pregnancy and go for the operation. So this strong social relationship and cultural effects play a major role in the fetal intervention. Our own city, if you look at it, this is the old city, this is the high-tech city. The patient coming from the old city, they would like to even terminate at 30 weeks of gestation, whereas a high-tech city area people, they would like to have the intervention for a complex congenital heart disease. So a busy practitioner like me, who is actually doing a lot of clinical work and conducting the outreach clinics, have less time to perform the procedures, fetal procedures, and we will be calculating with the other groups, adult cardiologists or whoever it is, our financial generation to the hospital and the sustainability of the programs, all those things. In that aspect, in India, fetal cardiac program actually gone down in a pyramid of success. So what are the challenges? Better understanding, collaborative work, technical imaging aspects, case selection, and understanding the natural history. If you look at this particular case here, you can see the critical aortic stenosis progressed to a severe LV dysfunction, and eventually they will go to hypoplastic small left ventricle here. So you need to intervene at that particular stage. This is the first natural history from Guy's Hospital, John Simpson group. You can see that if you don't treat these patients, they all will go for Norwood procedure or intrauterine death, or postnatal outcomes are very poor. So primary lesion, you should prevent it to have the good outcome and to prevent the secondary complex lesion. So we learned from the lessons from the literature, and important aspects like case selection, counseling, procuring the hardware, and all those things we overcome over the period of time from 2012 onwards. So how to get an ideal case? Development of the fetal referral base, educating the fetal medicine specialists, obstetricians, and we should bring awareness in the public and society. So this is the ideal case where you should check the length of the left ventricle, the mitral valve G-score annulus, and aortic valve G-score. And if you have a scoring system which is already established, if you have 0, then it is going to be good biventricular case. Otherwise, it is, even though you do the valvotomy, it is not going to achieve biventricular circulation. Similarly, in the pulmonary valve, same thing. So first of all, we have to do self-counseling. If I am not going to do this procedure, what we are going to have? Can you please connect it? So self-counseling, team counseling, family counseling, and institutional support are the very crucial things. And similarly, you have to balance the situation between the family, the concepts and the risk. So one of the patients, when we asked fetal intervention, they came with this kind of a setup of questions. So imagine that how much of time you need to spend and how to answer all those questions are going to be very, very critical. So we had to form the team with the other specialities, and actually I started working with the group from Boston, Vaini Taravesky, and he is from the Austria, where they have done recent work and shown that 60% of the biventricular successful cases are Tuljar group. And Adam is our one of the friend from Poland. He comes to India and we have performed some procedures. So this is our first publication in 2016 where we actually described the indigenous technique and other aspects, and this is the needle which we use for the fetal muscular injection. Various needles are available. These are the needles for the perforation of the left ventricle and then go there. We can procure the other wires, but I found that Whisper Extra Support or BMHW is a good wire, and balloons which are available are but a smaller size, but Relicis company actually manufactured a balloon for me thanks to Dr. Krishna Reddy that goes through even 18-19 gauge needle. So we prepared the system in vitro first and then see that, and we try to actually keep the balloon through the needle here and then advance and see the balloon negotiation whether it is very smooth or not. Then we actually prepare the system as you can see in the schematic diagram and put the plasters, markers, and then this is just a demonstration how it looks outside, and the balloon as close as possible to the needle. If you inflate in the needle, balloon will be ruptured. So once you inflate the balloon, you should all assembly should come out rather than actually taking out the balloon, because balloon may avulse inside the heart or inside the chest. One of the baby actually balloon avulsed inside the chest and we did not remove it actually. So after preparation of the table, we actually try to minimize the crowd in the theater, and you prepare all medications which are possible like atropine, adrenaline, fentanyl, everything, and we can actually discard those medications are useful for the procedure resuscitation. So this is Adam and myself are doing the pulmonary valve in one of the unsuccessful case actually. So to show this animation, you can see that we first take the patients inside the theater and perform the fetal echocardiogram for the fetal position. If position is really good, then under ultrasonic guidance, we give the intramuscular injection for the fetal anesthesia, fentanyl and vecuronium for the estimated fetal weight. So once we give that, fetal position will be reasonably stabilized. After stabilization of the position, then we'll think about towards a maternal general anesthesia. Because if you give maternal general anesthesia, you may have the fetal unfavorable position and then unsuccessful procedure that we learnt over the period of time. Then we take the needle appropriately and then puncture the uterus, puncture the abdomen, puncture the left ventricle, and then position the balloon needle below the aortic valve, and then we actually try to inflate that. So we inflate the aortic valve, or in case of pulmonary valve, we perforate the pulmonary valve directly and see under echocardiographic guidance for the successful of the procedure, and then subsequently entire assembly should be removed rather than a balloon alone. So this is a typical illustrative case of 28 years science teacher. You can see that early aortic stenosis is there, and there is early reversal of the flow, critical stenosis, but we actually thought medical follow-up and do postnatal delivery balloon. But if you can see here that there is endocardial fibroelastosis here already seen. We measured all possible, but baby started developing the mitral regurgitation there. You can see the foramina ovale, which is left to right shunt. Normally you should see the right to left shunt. Left ventricle started shrinking and the stenosis became very worse. So again, fetal weight of 870 grams, we gave the injection, and you can see that perforation through the chest entry here below the aortic wall, and you can see here the balloon is being inflated here. You can see the balloon across the aortic wall is being inflated. So after that you can see the result is very good. Here established flow, left ventricle started growing, and baby did very well. So we will have mistakes sometimes that we may unnecessarily do. Here pericardial effusion developed, we had to resuscitate, and there was a mechanical failure also. So here twins baby, same thing. You can see that balloon is being inflated, chest wall is being perforated here, and the procedure was very much successful in this baby, but there was delayed case for the fetal intervention. That's the reason why there was a restrictive physiology in the postnatal period. You can have a lot of complications like cardiac arrest, pericardial effusion, all those things, but we do fetal resuscitation in those cases. So this is recently done. We did a patient from Kadapa. You can see the right ventricle is hypoplastic here, too small, and the pulmonary wall is atretic, totally atretic. You can see here pulmonary atresia, and this is the criteria for the fetal intervention, and it was actually possible to do fetal intervention in this baby, 1200 grams baby, and you can see that after fetal, this is the chest wall entry here, and then subsequently I'll show you these pictures. So now you can see the right ventricle is being entered here, and this is below the pulmonary wall. Pulmonary wall is being perforated. The next picture you will see pulmonary wall perforation here. That is the pulmonary wall perforation. So once you do pulmonary wall perforation, you can see the balloon is being inflated here. That is the balloon is being inflated. Balloon is being inflated, and then you can see the immediate post results. There is a significant development of pulmonary regurgitation, and the child did very well. This is the postnatal echocardiogram, severe TR, severe pulmonary stenosis. Here we converted pulmonary atresia intact septum to critical pulmonary stenosis. So we modified the natural history by doing the intervention, and the baby did extremely well. I don't think this baby will need another procedure. This is our data on 6 cases. We have 1 death, and we have successful procedure. 1 procedure we did at Cochin Amrita Institute, and which did very well. So I thank my colleagues and the Mr. Venkatesh, who did a lot of animation work for us, and we started doing in vitro studies, now in vitro training, and do the successful. So to summarize, fetal intervention in a busy clinical practice in India is quite challenging, and team effort is very much important. And I thank you very much for the organizers and giving extra time of 2 minutes. Thank you very much.